Welcome to the YEG Chinese Community Celebration of the Winter Solstice Festival. Please be sure to participate in our photo contest. Details are in the description below.
Let's get started. Thank you so much for coming and joining us this morning and taking time out of your weekend to have this discussion, everyone. We have this panel talk to discuss about the Winter Solstice Festival and its significance in Chinese culture. I want to take this opportunity to invite our guests. First, we have Cheryl Wang. Cheryl has been in Edmonton for more than a year and has a little boy who is going to be 2 years old very soon. Currently, she is doing an internship as a project management coordinator at Actions for Healthy Communities. At Actions for Healthy Communities, they work together to promote culture and values to build a stronger and healthier community. Next, we have Chelsea Xu. Chelsea comes from Shandong Province, China. She majored in teaching Chinese as a second language. She has worked with the Confucius Institute of Edmonton for 3 years. Besides teaching Chinese language, she also supports a variety of cultural activities in different schools and communities. She's currently working at the Confucius Institute in a Confucius classroom supporting Chinese bilingual program. And finally, we have Hunter Hu. Hunter is currently working at the Confucius Institute of Edmonton as well as a visiting teacher. When he was in China, he worked as a Chinese language teacher at Changzhou Normal University in Hebei province. Together with his colleagues at the Confucius Institute, they are all doing their best to provide support to Chinese language learning and cultural events for Edmonton public schools and local communities. Thank you all for joining. I want to start off this panel discussion from this great description that Cheryl had sent over in amongst our correspondence in organizing this panel, and just to ground us in what we're talking about for the Winter Festival. So from Cheryl, Winter Solstice has often been considered as significant as the Spring Festival in Chinese tradition. It marks the start of China's oldest time of the year, coldest time of the year. It is also a time for balancing the yin and the yang. Chinese people celebrate the winter solstice in different ways depending on where you live. In northern China, we eat dumplings, and in southern China, we have tangyuan to celebrate the season together. During this period, the positive energies yang begin to rise and the negative energy yin begins to decline. So this is a good time to adjust our diets and to take some nutrition to store our positive energy in our bodies. There is no better time to celebrate the new year ahead of this than joining in on the winter solstice. So I thought that was a very wonderful quote and way to bring us all together in this discussion. I'm just going to go around and ask folks that first question. Me being a second generation Canadian Chinese individual here, I was born in Edmonton. I kind of want to come from hear from your perspectives. Why is Winter Solstice an important festival coming from the ancient times in China as well? Maybe we'll start with Cheryl, if you don't mind.
Sure. So we celebrate 24 solar terms. There are 24 solar terms, and we call it 节气 in China. So and Dongzhi is one of the first ones become established among those 24 solar terms. And so when I was little, my grandma always tell me that on the days of the Dongzhi, you have to eat dumplings, and a lot of dumplings. Of course, I'm from the northern China. In the southern part, there's a different tradition. And then I asked why I have to eat dumplings. I eat dumplings all the time. Why have to be this day then? And she said, if you don't eat dumplings, you will get your ears frozen off. So I understand that that day maybe is one of the coldest days, in the year. So I have to eat warm food to keep me warm. Yeah, that's my stories, my experience with the Dongzhi.
Amazing. Thank you, Cheryl. Chelsea, how about yourself? What is your perspective on that and how we celebrate from the ancient times?
Oh, yeah. So as you said just now, so actually this festival can be traced back to the yin and yang philosophy, have something to do with that. So after this Dongzhi, so the day will become longer and longer. So it's that's why it's so important. It's just like the balance of the and the harmony of the cosmos. So in my hometown, yeah, it's the same, and because I'm also lived in the northern part of China, so we will also eat dumplings. But I started in Shanghai for 3 years, so Shanghai, this city is just between the northern part and the southern part of China. So some of my classmates from the southern parts, they will say, "Oh, why you guys eat dumplings? We always eat tangyuan." So I said, "Oh." So yeah, so it's quite different. And the reason why we eat the dumplings in my family, that's it's the shape of the dumplings is kind of like the ears. Yeah. So yeah, we said okay, you 过冬至这个不吃饺子不动耳朵，like you warm your ear after you eat the dumplings. So because the 耳朵 is the shape of the 饺子 is like your ears.
Amazing. Amazing. I've never heard that, and I love that description. I've never thought of the shape of a dumpling, and that is years. I love it so much. Thank you. Hunter, how about yourself?
Okay, thanks, Jeff. So, as Sherry and Chelsea mentioned, Dongzhi is a very important festival in China because it is starting of the 24 Chinese solar terms, and it is the first day of the so-called the coldest day of the winter of the year. So after this celebration, there will be days with longer daylight hours, and therefore an increase of positive energy flowing in. So it is very important. As for me, and maybe I know another legend. It's about a famous Chinese doctor whose name is Zhang Zhongjing, and he was in Han Dynasty, I think. And this doctor, he in the winter, he put mutton anti-cold medicine together, wrapped them in the shape of dumplings. After people who came to see doctor, and they can eat the dumplings and to drink the hot soup, and then can warm up, and their ears will be safe. So people also can make dumplings themselves to commemorate Dr. Zhang Zhongjing. That's another legend about Dongzhi Festival. Thanks.
That is very cool. Very interesting. Thanks for sharing that. Um, I find that really interesting. We come back to the ears a lot. As a kid, I always was really bad about wearing my hat when I was playing outside for recess at school, and I would always get near frostbite, and my parents would get really mad at me. And that's so interesting to keep thinking back, like during the winter coldest days, like you don't want your ears to fall off. Eat more dumplings, and the ingredients and everything in it. I love that. That's a really cool story that I've never heard of before. I kind of want to go back to what Chelsea said a little bit about how she saw differences in different places where you live in China and how you celebrate in Shanghai. There's a really interesting mix of both North and South. Me, myself, my dad's side of the family is northern China, also from Shandong, actually. And then my mother's side is from Taishan. So I am myself also a mix of North and South. And here in Edmonton, because I have both my families, both sets of grandparents. I've been very lucky and fortunate that during this time, I typically also get to eat both, which I love because for the northern side, I get to have that savory, delicious dumplings, and my family is so great. They freeze extra for me so I can bring home and I can make some at home myself. And then when I visit my mother's side, that sweet and delicious tangyuan is something so simple and so warming as well, but different feelings at the same time. Maybe we'll start with Chelsea on this. Can you speak more again on how people celebrate the winter solstice in China, and maybe how you've celebrated here in Edmonton in your time here as well?
Oh, okay. Thank you. So that reminds me of I'll talk more about my classmates where I studied in Shanghai. Yeah, because those guys are really funny. When Dongzhi is coming, and one time my roommate said, okay, it's time to book the restaurant. I said, why? He said, it's time to have the festival, Dongzhi. And I said, okay, time to eat dumplings. And the other one, that guy from southern the part from Guangzhou, and that guy is oh yeah, so I can have the tangyuan and the dumplings. So we'll start to discuss that. But that time, I don't know whether all the people from southern area, they how they besides tangyuan, how do they celebrate? But my roommate said, yeah, nearly every important festival, her family will eat tangyuan. Yeah, because it's like a round one, and Chinese people, we love the round or square things. That means we can have the tuan like a family gather together, and that's a good thing, right? And in my family, so basically just eat tangyuan. And a few days ago, I even asked my parents, okay, how do you celebrate this festival? And my mom just complained, how do we celebrate? That time we were so poor. We can't even afford the dumplings. You guys are so lucky. Every year you eat the dumplings. We make so many different food, and that time we cannot afford the clothes, or maybe don't have money to buy some food. Yeah, how could we celebrate? Yeah, she I also talked to my husband, who he also lived in the northern part of the very northeast part of China, and he even talked to his grandpa, and his grandpa is the similar as what my mom said. Oh, you guys are lucky, blah 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 blah. yeah. So but we don't have the other custom sacrifice to the ancestors, because they said, okay, Dongzhi is just like a festival that is celebrated. Okay, the daylight become longer and longer, so we can have more time to maybe farming or maybe working, something like that. But it's not a festival for our ancestors. That's for New Year or some other festivals. Yeah, that's all.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing, Chelsea. Why don't I go to Hunter now? What are your thoughts on that?
As I know, in China, the Winter Solstice Festival actually is very important, not only for the ordinary people, but also for the government. Like during the Ming and the Qing dynasty, as I know, the Winter Solstice was officially celebrated at the Temple of Heaven in the southern suburb of Beijing to pray for the blessing of the emperor and the peace of the nation. Of course, for ordinary people, the Winter Solstice is also a time for family reunions and celebrations. People always celebrate by eating traditional food like dumplings and tangyuan, visiting friends and relatives. That's I know.
Very
Thanks.
cool. Thank you. How about yourself, Cheryl?
Sorry, Jeff, can you repeat your question again?
Yeah, no worries. I was asking about how do Chinese people celebrate winter solstice, both in China and if you have experiences, how you've adapted to celebrating here in Canada.
My family is from the north, as I mentioned earlier, but my husband's side is from the southern part, and Grandparents yesterday actually made some handmade some tangyuan. They eat tangyuan, both sweet and savory. So first time I try savory. Usually we eat sweet things in the north. Another thing that we celebrate is we in the north we so after Dongzhi, you're not supposed to do intensive exercise, but you can do some practice some traditional exercise like Tai Chi to kind of maintain your body. Grandma is a master Tai Chi performer. She has won the top prize in the national champion. So she always does Tai Chi. But she told me you do Tai Chi usually in the morning, the daytime when it's bright, not at night. So what I do, I as a traditional Chinese opera performers and also traditional narrative song performers, I celebrate Dongzhi. I can sing some songs that tells you about the story. Like Dongzhi, this is called Bajiao is when the late Qing dynasty, the Manchurians, when they celebrate occasions and festivals, they do poetry, and then usually they give music notes for the poetry narratives, and then they sing. So today actually I prepared a poem. I'm gonna chant the poem for you in both Chinese and English. This poem is not by me, but it's by one of the Chinese great poets, Su Shi in Song Dynasty. And the name is called 冬至日独游吉祥寺, visiting the temple of auspicious fortune along the winter solstice. So he is visiting this his favorite Jixiang temple on the date of the Dongzhi. And so 井底微阳回未回, 萧萧寒雨湿枯该, 何人更似苏夫子, 不是花时肯独来. Basically, this poem is to express his emotions. He has been visited this temple during the all seasons. His favorite season, of course, is when in which the peonies blooms. But he visited this time along on the day of Dongzhi, and then he gets a different kind of emotion and very sentimental. So it is not a happy poem, but it's a little bit sad because he feels in the cold day I'm visiting along this temple, I also feel some kind of resentment. So he expressed his feelings through emotions. This is basically the ways that we celebrated Dongzhi and different festivals in China. Oh, I also want to mention in the southern part, people also do paper cutting, and this is like a paper cutting with patterns. You can do like fish and then also some phoenix and dragons on different occasions. They do it in Dongzhi as well. Yeah, so it's called 剪纸, and then they post it on the windows. That's it from me.
No, that's perfect. Thank you, Cheryl. A couple thoughts from just what you've all shared really quickly. That poem, thank you so much for sharing. Thoughts really quickly on just like having instruments and poetry and reciting during this time is very similar to my understanding of Indigenous cultures here in Canada as well. Oral history is so important to their cultures, and I find that a very wonderful bridge connecting our two cultures. Very cool. I love that story and that poem, and even to have those complex feelings about what's happening at this time, right? Like not every celebration has to be happy. There are other feelings that come around. So thank you for sharing that. And I love that you're sharing the paper cutting. I will admit I'm not very good at crafts. I will make things not as pretty as they could come out as. But I think that's a really wonderful thing that maybe we could all do, especially during these times of the pandemic, and sharing those beautiful cuttings. And I've seen even during the summer and during the year, lots of people were putting up art. Kids were doing that in their homes in Edmonton. This could be a wonderful way for children of Chinese descent to do some paper cutting, share in their culture, and post in their windows as well. I'm curious from everyone else, are there other traditional customs that you've observed or heard about or learned in your academics and research, both in the past and maybe how has that changed or transformed into the modern day era that we live in today? Maybe I'll start with yourself, Hunter.
Okay, maybe in the past, it's a traditional festival, but nowadays, as for me, people sometimes take this as an important family gathering time because people are more and more think it's important for family to gather together. So that's why I think Dongzhi is the second most important festival in winter for Chinese. Of course, the first one is Spring Festival, 春节. So this one is the second most important one. So like for me, mostly when I was in China on this celebration, my family will get together and we will make some mutton. I mean the stuffed mutton dumplings. And actually, food is not the first thing because when we are together, we are making dumplings together and eating together. So we feel it's very happy and very lively. So and winter is not so cold anymore. That's it. Thanks.
Chelsea, how about yourself? Do you know
Okay.
any other tradition?
Actually, I have to point out, I don't agree with Hunter because I think the second most important festival will be the Mid-Autumn Festival, eat mooncakes.
Okay.
Yeah, for family reunion.
Okay, fine.
Yeah. Jeff, you're asking the reason why the customers are changed, right, from the past to now. Well, I think maybe that's because China has a long history, like 5,000 years history. So during that time, maybe some customer will involved again and again. So maybe what we are talking about is just what we hear or what we checked from the history books or history stories. Maybe that's not true. Maybe I just think here because sometimes the story will change and change again. So the version we heard maybe not is not true. And also because during the past the few decades or maybe 100 or 200 years during this time, we are more get more influence from the Western culture. And then when the two different kind of cultures get try to get in a little bit mixed, or we are getting to lose some very traditional customs. Like for example, nowadays so many kids they can only speak Chinese Mandarin or Chinese Cantonese. Yeah, and also the people here in Edmonton, no matter it's Chinese or Canadian, maybe they heard more about it, the Chinese Mandarin and Cantonese, or maybe Taishanhua, yeah, right? Japanese you speak Taishanhua, right? But actually in China there are hundreds of dialects, yeah. So people won't know, yeah. So that's one of my thoughts. Yeah, it's more the history just too old to check whether this one is true or not, and also become the Western culture. Yeah, and young people, yeah, for example me, am I young? Okay, I think I am. Okay. Yeah, getting more Western culture influence and they started to lose some traditional ones. Yeah, so that's kind of sad. Yeah. Yeah.
For sure. Cheryl, did you have any other traditions that you could think of, or
Sure, I could think of one tradition because we talk about the yin and the yang and how it's been how it's harmonious how it's balance each other. So of course, modern medicine is widely used in medicine is widely used in China, but traditional healing still remains hugely popular, especially on the period of Dongzhi. Like my father is a Chinese medicine doctor, and he always tells me that on the Dongzhi, you should do some acupunctures, and there's usually a special herb that used to stimulate the pressure points behind your waist of your body, and just to revitalize your energy, to start up more yang qi in your body. So that's what I observed from Dongzhi, that lots of traditions that people practice, that people practice to maintain those culture, and then maintain those body energies. Yes, one of the traditions, acupuncture, I want to mention.
Very, very cool. I never considered the traditional medicine side of it as well. So thank you for sharing that. We are coming near the end of our time, but I have one last question for everyone, and I'd love to hear more personally from each of you how you have your own maybe more specific traditions with you and your family or friends, how you celebrate Dongzhi. Maybe we'll go with Chelsea on this one first.
Okay, so I am a 吃货, like always think about some food. Yeah. Yeah. So Hunter and I worked in the same office. So most of the time we'll talk about okay, what are you going to eat today? Yeah. So I remember we made a lot of dumplings together, right? No matter it's on Dongzhi or some other, we think, okay, yeah, that's a festival. Actually, today is not. Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, so it's for me personally, it's this Dongzhi is more kind of like for friends, for meeting with friends, because I don't have any family here. Yeah, so it's just like a kind of an excuse for people hanging out and have fun together. Yeah, kind of more like that. Yeah.
No, that's great. You may not have as many blood relatives here, but to go with your chosen family here is still a wonderful way to celebrate. I love that. Thank you. Why don't we go with Hunter next? How do you personally celebrate?
Okay, because when I was in China, actually Dongzhi is not an official festival, so I just had time to make dumplings, as I mentioned. So mutton dumplings, that's my favorite on Dongzhi, because that's really will keep you warm.
Mm-hmm. Have you had trouble finding mutton here, or do you have a secret source of where you can get some good mutton here to
That's good, because I can find it in TNT. It's okay.
Okay, that's really good. Yeah, I don't know if my parents or my family have used mutton as much. We usually go with the pork, but still, I love it.
Yeah, mutton and the carrot. My mom said, yeah, mutton and carrot, they are a good match.
Interesting. I maybe have to ask my aunt to make that with me one day when we can see each other again. That's an interesting mix. I've never thought of carrot mixed in with the mutton. That's very cool. I love that. Thank you. And Cheryl, we have a little guest joining us. How do you two celebrate?
We have a little guest, and he's gonna demonstrate the way he celebrates Dongzhi. So we made this. Grandpa made this handmade this tangyuan, 2 different flavors. So one has the inside filling is the handmade red bean paste, and then the other is purple yam.
Oh, amazing!
So it's his favorite. 谢谢.
Oh, that's so cute.
So we will all celebrate together on December 22nd to eat tangyuan, and then also dumplings, handmade dumplings as well. 谢谢. 谢谢. 冬至快乐. 说冬至快乐.
I agree with the little one. Let's eat first.
Exactly.
Amazing. Oh, thank you so much for sharing that, Cheryl. Appreciate all your time. I agree. It's a very special time, especially during winter, especially now. Maybe it's only phone calls for now, but with our chosen family and friends. But Yes, thank you, Cheryl. Thank you, Chelsea. Thank you, Hunter. Really appreciate the time that you've taken this morning to discuss with us your perspectives and experiences over how to celebrate Dongzhi and the Winter Solstice Festival in Chinese context. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you for having us.
We hope that you enjoyed these videos. These videos and more are presented as part of the Edmonton Chinese Winter Solstice Festival 2020 event series. We thank the Government of Canada for providing funding and the Chinese Benevolent Association for organizing the Chinese community to produce this virtual festival.